Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sarah and Adam Show. I'm here with my erstwhile guest, Sarah. Not guest, co-host. How are you, Sarah?
I'm good. How are you? I felt a little demoted.
A little bit, yeah. That would have been a horrifying demotion, especially because you're the name of this show.
No.
It's the Sarah and Adam. Like, oh yeah,
And
but
Adam.
it's Adam, but it's the Sarah.
Yeah, but you tag along.
There's only yeah. I'm like Robin. Like no one cares.
Poor Robin.
No, there's this really funny. So we saw this video on YouTube, me and my boys. So we clicked on it. It was called "Jesus is My Superhero."
Okay.
And it's a God song or whatever. But it's about how Jesus is my superhero, and then it's like it's better than like Superman. It's better than Batman. It's there's even better than Barbie. All this stuff, and it's a cutesy like kids song or whatever. There's like little Lego figures just like popping up and dancing and stuff. It's kind of fun. But it was so funny. The thing that made me laugh was, well, first off, for Jesus they use like Kenobi, like the Kenobi Lego.
That's actually really funny that they use that
Yeah,
Lego.
yeah, it was just perfect. They put like a superhero cape on him and stuff. But the other thing that made me laugh though was so they had all these specific characters
Mhm.
that he's better than all these different superheroes, and then they said better than anyone, and it showed Robin. Like he wasn't named. He was just like the sidekick, like just
Oh,
written off.
that's a little bit sad.
I know. That's why it was funny.
Poor guy.
I know. Yeah. I'm like Robin.
No.
Well, you just said it. I'm like the sidekick. So
No, I didn't say
you're like, I didn't say it.
it. Stop.
All right. So today we have a little bit of news, and then all we've got to do is talk about Andor episode 9, which was not the conclusion I was hoping for. Like I wanted a climax episode, and this was a building episode.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Actually, you're right. We can talk about that. Tell me what news you have though.
Fine. Okay. So I mean, there's not much really. So uh, apparently, James Earl Jones is retired from using his voice as Darth Vader.
Which is a little bit sad.
It is. So they're using like a kind of deep fake voice technology, sort of. It's like a Ukrainian company,
Hmm.
which is interesting because aren't they still at war? But I guess you can still deep fake voices while you're at war.
Well, maybe they are in a different, working out of a different area, or a
Oh
different
yeah,
country.
they're their their main business is in like India. Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows?
Uh,
Maybe they got bought out by, I don't know, somebody.
yeah. So, anyways, they yeah, no shade on Ukraine or uh, yeah, but it's just an interesting thing. So apparently his voice was not actually used at all,
Mhm.
like his original voice. Like they synthesized, they created a new one, like a digital like creation in the Kenobi series, even.
Yeah, I didn't even like realize that was the case. I thought they did a good job of it.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Hmm.
Um, and honestly, there's been a few times that he's voiced. So he's 91, and
Right.
so there, I'm always a little bit at odds with like at what point should we just like take the axe to these actors? Like not that I want them to be involved for as long as they can be,
Hmm.
and at the same time, like there's been a few like times that you can hear Darth Vader's voice in other productions that I'm like, he's getting old. Like you could tell he's like
Right.
it's not as like, it's not as robust as it used to be. And like, I can't say that I fault him at all,
Hmm.
and I can't fault them for including him, and yet it's not as Darth Vader as it could be.
Right. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Right. Like so I don't know, like him retiring and him like kind of giving like the thumbs up for them to use his digital, a digital representation of his voice is, I don't know. I guess it's in a way a gift. I don't know. It feels sad though.
Right. Yeah, I feel like it's just such an iconic voice that it almost feels wrong to have it be faked by a digitization, essentially.
If David Prowse is still alive. Do you know who that is? Sorry, not.
No.
He's the actor who played Darth Vader, just without a
Mm,
voice.
right. Right. That was in like the bodysuit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, and you have to cringe. I mean, I don't know how much of this is true and how much of it is just like, people like making up an epic story, but like, they told the way I heard it was he never got told that he was going to have his voice replaced until he watched it in the theaters, and he's like, that's not my voice.
I've heard that story too.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like super messed up. Like, you'd think that they would tell him, frankly,
Yeah.
unless you hated him. But then you're like, so how would you like to come and do episode 5 with us?
Right. Yeah. I feel like you would have to tell them.
Well, have you seen, like, there actually, there's some footage of him
Mm-hmm.
with his original voice, and it's like all reedy and awful.
Oh wow.
It's like, oh yeah, like you needed James Earl Jones there. He was necessary. Like
Mm-hmm.
that would have, he would have been a convincing superhero, supervillain.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. No. Now I feel like I'm gonna go have to look for this footage because I haven't seen
Oh,
that. I knew
yeah,
I
that's
knew
funny.
that James Earl Jones did the voice and somebody else was in the suit.
Hmm.
And I do remember hearing that story, but them not telling the actor in the suit.
But yeah, you wonder how bitter David Prowse still is, if he's still alive. I don't even know if he's.
Assuming it's true.
Oh well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like I heard some interview of where he was like, he's not like entirely okay with it, but it was still like he's still getting paid, so he still showed up.
Hmm.
Can you imagine trying to act like he probably still used his voice to for cues and stuff, but like, can
Yeah.
you imagine like that iconic scene of like, no, I am your father, and Luke is hearing like, no, I'm your father, like. And he's like, no, that's impossible. And then he watches it in theaters. He's like, yeah, that was a lot better with James's voice in there.
uh, I really want to find this now. I'm really curious what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's fun. It's probably not as bad as I'm making it out to be. I would just remember thinking like, oh yeah, who would want this compared to,
Right.
like the Cadillac of James Earl Jones's voice. Like, one of my favorite things growing up, I guess we're telling Jesus stories today, but I grew up, I grew up in a Christian home, and so we actually had all of the books of the Bible on cassette tape,
Right.
and it was all read by James Earl Jones, so I could listen to Darth Vader read me the Bible.
Which just sounds like something that would never happen.
I know, it's just fun. I don't know, like, I I feel like if I ever got like an audiobook of the Bible or something, I'd seek that one out.
I, I know this isn't like the right term for it, but it almost feels like an oxymoron.
Oh yeah, like it sounds like a contradiction,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
Uh,
absolutely. So, anyways, yeah, it's
mhm.
it's just fun. It's fun, but I'm sad that he's quote unquote gone. He's
Right.
not dead or anything, that I know of, but he's officially retired as the voice, and will continue to have digital deep fakes of his voice moving forward.
Which will be, I mean, I feel like with all of the upcoming shows, he's bound to be in more of them.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, in a big way, like that's part of why episode 7, 8, and 9 kind of struggled, because like Vader, like the whole series, the whole saga up to
Mhm.
that point was about Darth Vader, was about Anakin.
Right. Yeah.
And the sequel trilogy is like about his legacy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a Skywalker story.
What I think is really messed up is at the end, all of the Solos, all of the Skywalkers, all of like every bloodline that matters
Mhm.
is gone, and all that's left is the Palpatine bloodline.
Yeah. Yeah. I never thought of it like that, actually. That's a little bit sad.
I know, it's
Why'd you do
horrible
that?
because someone did it to me.
Oh, that's rude.
Actually,
Uh,
I don't know if maybe that was an original thought. I've had original thoughts before.
Occasionally, here and there.
I think,
Yeah.
as far as I know, I've have.
As far as you know. Um, okay. Do you have any other bits of news?
Bits of news that's so
Hmm.
demeaning. You're like, oh, little tiny bits.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, we didn't say, by the way, we're not covering the Tales of the Jedi until probably next week or something. It's just been a
Yes.
very, very, very busy week for us. And I'm actually looking forward to just talking about Andor and then going to work on my million things.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Hopefully next week for Tales of the Jedi, it'll be quieter.
All
Knock
right,
on wood.
it'll be so epic talking about those really epic things in it that I haven't watched yet.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm excited for all the epicness. So stay tuned for epicness. And I mean, we're gonna have epicness tonight about Andor.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any other news?
No,
What? You're so lame.
I know. I'd say I tried, but I really did not. I feel like I've had 5 million things. I haven't had 5 million things going on. I've just been fighting with my internet company. You know this. It takes a lot of
Yeah,
energy out of you to argue with people.
yeah,
So,
that's okay.
no. So do we want to talk about Andor?
Yeah, sure.
Uh,
Talk about Andor.
so this is episode 9, and like you were saying earlier, you thought it would be more of like a arc kind of closing, right? Like the 3 episode story arcs we've been getting.
Yeah, well, it was shaping itself out to be that. I honestly, so in the last episode, you see his wild eyes and stuff, and I thought he was just going to do something like frantic and escape right then, because I
Right.
didn't think they were going to lock him up. But then, like, he's been in jail for a long time now.
It's a factory. It's totally
Okay.
it's totally a
What are
jail.
what are you, an Imperial? Like,
No.
jeez, you're like Palpatine's like aide or something.
No.
This is horrible.
This episode,
We're
I
not gonna
think,
get along.
no, I think this episode really drilled home the fact that it is most definitely a jail.
I mean, it's more than that. It's slave labor.
Yeah, it's slave labor, but also like you are never leaving.
Right, aka slaves.
Right.
Right. Oh well, yeah, it's real interesting. Like they're just recycling people.
Yeah. It's kind of creepy.
I mean, it's not surprising though. Like the Imperials have done all kinds of like they literally wiped out the entire Geonosian species
Right.
after they built the first Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Yeah.
I guess the Geonosian species is still alive, at least on some levels right now. Right? Because they're still
Mhm.
constructing the Death Star.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right, because it's not done yet.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm, man, I really enjoyed the casting storyline on this episode, which not to say that that's weird. I just also feel like I've been enjoying in the other episodes. I was enjoying the other character storylines a bit more in a way, but I thought
Mm-hmm.
this one was really strong. But also, okay, I cannot remember her name. That Imperial officer,
Yeah,
blonde. I can't remember
the
her.
the lieutenant.
Yeah, the one that's in
Let's just call her the lieutenant.
that was interrogating Bix. Uh,
Yeah.
she is nasty. Like you saw it come full force this episode.
Well, like her little cheek twitch a couple times. I was like, oh, geez, she's like, I don't know, she's on the edge. Like she's not quite all the way perfectly sane,
Yeah,
kind of.
I was just like, I don't want to say I was shocked by it because she obviously is in the Empire and everything, but I feel like the initial episodes we saw with her were she seemed relatively tame. Um, which sounds weird to say because she works for the Empire, but like, you know, level-headed and quiet and whatnot. And this one, I was like, whoa, you are like full throttle, full steam ahead, full blown Empire nastiness.
I will say, the doctor was so funny. He was so like chipper and happy and like, oh yeah, like da da da, like explaining all the things. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, like oh we had to like exterminate the whole species, but you know, but like he was so cavalier about how he's like, oh yeah, like, and she's like, oh, this is the doctor, and he like waves.
Mm-hmm. It's
It's just so awkward. And then he's like on his way to torture her, and he's just so cavalier and happy,
it
so chipper.
it's such a weird dynamic to see.
Yeah, I really enjoyed him
Mm-hmm.
actually. Like, I that tortured. I don't love that.
No.
Makes me cringe. But yeah, at least the scene was well done by him.
Oh yeah, it was, and it really just adds to like how evil the Empire is.
Oh yeah, it's no joke. It's all very it's really interesting. I need them to escape prison though. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That was that and that's I think why I thought this episode for me was a little bit stronger because it seemed to be leading to that. Like they had this plan in place. They were, you
mhm.
know, it seemed to be really leading to that moment and then it didn't happen and you realize that like the guy says like you don't get out of here. You just go to a different floor essentially. And you keep going to other floors and it's like, oh, you really just never leave.
Right. Oh yeah, it's really messed up.
Like that's which I'm surprised. I was thinking about this when I was watching it because when they were learning this, and I was like, how has that not gotten out?
Well, I think that they just started doing it.
Okay. Because I was like, how is it that there's no one that comes into the floor and it's like, oh yeah, I was just over on floor 3 and now I'm here.
How did you like Andy Serkis's performance?
I liked him. I don't know what they're doing with his character, but I liked him a lot.
I think he's been activated. I think he's ready. I think he's on Cassian's side.
I
They're
think
gonna-
he is too, but I'm also like, am I stupid for thinking that? Am I supposed to think that and then you're gonna backstab him?
Well, I mean, because he could, right? Like
Right.
he could probably go tell him like, hey, they're planning an insurrection. Like, let me out. Like, I only have a little bit left here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, here's the thing though. It's a right now. It's a they escape or they all get exterminated eventually.
Right.
Game like that's what has to happen now. Like that's what's required. So like, after working in a prison for several years, personally, like as like an administrator and stuff, you'd see, I was actually an auditor as
Mm-hmm.
well, and I got to see a lot of the different operations and stuff. And one of the like they don't allow visitors here. Like they don't allow a lot of like I I'm very interested to know like the psychology of like this seems it seems like you would actually just have a lot of people who would just suicide, like they just kill themselves, like a ton of people would,
Right.
or they'd try to escape, or they'd try to, like you'd have a lot more violence than you do. But I'd be interested to know, like, that this is so different. So like, they have totally different technology for managing all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, but like these guys, you'd think that this would create a huge stir. Like they're imprisoning people, and these people aren't allowed to have visitors, which is like modern prisons. It's pretty crazy.
Right.
Just on its own.
Yeah. And they all just like seem to be following the orders and doing what they're told, and
right. I'd be really interested to know how, like, kind of quote unquote realistic the psychology of this all is.
right.
Like, I mean, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like the psychology, like we're watching a show that has sounds in space,
Right.
like whatever. But I'd be interested. I would still just be interested to know, like they're just going about their tasks, and like you get excited about taste with your meal.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a huge breakout, though.
Yeah, I feel like, well, and so like this is the thing with Andy Serkis's character, that it feels like he was kind of just it feels like he just flipped to Cassian's side, and it feels like he did because he's realized that, like, he also is never leaving. Like exactly what you
Right.
said, where it's you either escape or you die here.
Yeah. I mean, I love that he was just like Andor's like, how many guards on each level? I'm gonna tell you, not gonna like shut up, shut up, shut up. And then at the end, how many guards on each level? No more than 12.
Yeah.
Like,
Like just totally, and like no hesitation either.
he's very expressive. Like you kind of forget, like he does the mocap stuff so much
Right.
that it's easy to forget. Like I don't know. I really am really enjoying his performance. Actually, I'm rooting for him.
He's doing a really good job, and I hope that he's not going to backstab Cassian.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm choosing to trust him.
Right. Exactly. I feel like it's the right call to trust him.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right? I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. But no, I think he's doing a fantastic job. I like his character. I liked his character even more after this episode.
yeah, me too. I felt sorry for the old guy.
That was really awful to watch. Like, yeah, I did not enjoy that scene at all in that hallway, wherever they were.
This this show is so intense, honestly, especially for a Star Wars show. I found myself like kind of not in a bad way, but kind of stressed out a little bit.
It it almost seems like you have to be in the right mindset to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you watch like episode 4 and it deals with a lot of dark things, like imprisonment, destroy like the genocide of an entire people, like with the Death Star, and like all this crazy like monsters in a trash compactor and stuff, all these things, and it's just like kind of bright and sunny and happy the whole time. They're cracking jokes and they're chasing stormtroopers, and stormtroopers are accurate until there's main characters around.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's just like the space lark, and then Andor's just like, gosh, the Empire is a bunch of bastards.
Yeah, and it's just so much darker.
Even though in episode 4 they kill a whole planet, like clearly there's no like limit to their depravity. Like there's no limit, but yeah, like this just seems more like, geez, what an oppressive thing. They're just taking over everything.
Right. I, So do you think it feels that way because this is more of like an in-depth look at the Empire? Or like a more um like behind the scenes look of how it kind of all started?
Maybe. What do you think?
Hmm.
I want to hear your thoughts on that.
I think so a little bit because realistically, like when you watch episode 4, 5, and 6, it's already established that the Empire is like it's already that's where it started. The Empire is already there. They're the bad guys. Like they're the guys doing all of this like really awful stuff, and you as a viewer when you watch that you're like, okay, we're obviously rooting against them because here are the heroes and etc. And you follow along with them, and that's where it goes. Whereas I feel like this might feel more, I don't know, feel more dirtier and like
Sure.
it
Gritty.
yeah, because but also because you're seeing more of these like staring face guy. Like you just see him get absolutely braided by his mother all the time, and like that he's this Empire affiliated person, and you're not supposed to enjoy his scenes or anything like that. Like that he's a quote unquote bad guy, but you're also seeing more of his background and history, and then you see more of Lieutenant Girl going all twitchy faced, psychotic.
Yeah.
It feels more in your face in a way.
I think she's gonna hook up with that guy, with staring guy.
You think so? I think she wants to like rip his head off.
I think she's going to hook up with him.
Like praying mantis style.
Maybe. I don't know. That's just what that's out of nowhere. But yeah. Yeah, no, I mean it is really dark. And I mean, so to capture the feeling of Rogue One, right? So there's that scene, the pivotal scene where they're in the Rebel base and the Alliance has decided to wuss out. They're just like, you know what, we're just gonna bitch out. We're done. Like, they're not, oh wait, we're gonna rebel. We have to fight, really? Like, bunch of. Anyways. So then Cassian's like, man, we've done a lot of bad things for the rebellion against the Empire. Like, we're saboteurs, we're doing all this stuff. Like, just because they're not part of SAW's like terrorist group doesn't mean that they're actually like nice people. Like he was ordered to just kill Galen Erso, just to assassinate him right off the, like they're used to brutal tactics. And I think you have to really consider. So you take these group of people, you're like, why are they doing the bad guys do too? And
right.
You have to think like, okay, in this world, it would be fully believable that something would happen, like if I was away from my house and someone came and just murdered my family and there was no justice. It was just like the Imperials did it because they wanted more housing for their own, like
right.
Something like totally nonsensical. I'm not going to get justice. Like suddenly I would be that guy who's like, not that I would want to like kill innocent people, but we need to take this regime down.
Right.
At all costs. Like I'd be one of those, and tons of people would be, I think, of just like, no, what they're doing is not okay. We have to stop them, even if it means more like innocent death. We have to stop it.
Have you watched The Boys?
No.
It's just funny because what you're saying touches on that so well. It's like a direct parallel between this and The Boys.
We should watch that sometime.
Yeah, so it is, just so you know, extremely gory.
Well, you'll have that when you have rogue superheroes.
Yeah. But yeah, everything that you just said, it just made me think of that because, yeah, that's essentially it. Like you're using these gritty tactics. You kind of like have to fight dirty in this case.
Right. Well, it kind of almost makes it's like, well, okay. Not that I love Saw Gerrera's, terrorist kind of things, but it kind of puts it in the perspective of like they have to stop the Empire. And like the Luthen was so interesting in the last episode where he was like, I'm a coward. I'm afraid of the time that the Empire
Mm-hmm.
gets too strong that like no one can actually do anything about it.
Right. And it's it kind of makes sense though that you would have these tactics and like Luthen saying that and all that kind of stuff, because you're at this point where you can see what the Empire is doing and the tactics that they're using and how they're fighting, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And like they're not going to stop because you get a whole band of the majority of people together who are like, hey, like, can you stop now? We don't like this.
Right. Right. Like those guys will just get killed. They'll
Right.
just be sent to prison and made to make girders or whatever the hell,
Whatever they're
they're
doing.
making.
Yeah.
I said girders. I'm like, I don't know what that is.
No, I have no idea what they're making, but I actually, when I was watching it, when they were I guess it's like a weird, I don't even know what it is, some kind of drill or whatever that they were using, and you could see like the sparks flying, and I sat there, I was like, nobody's wearing safety goggles.
Yeah, there's no gloves, nothing like that.
They don't care.
Yeah. Oh, how degrading is that? Like you just like take into a big communal shower and everyone's just like standing there naked,
Mm-hmm.
just getting sprayed off with something.
Go to your little bunkie and that you can't apparently step out of,
Yeah.
which is wild.
You don't I love that line in the last episode. He's like, you don't walk in your sleep, do you?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's why it makes
You'll
sense.
see.
Ugh, hope not. Yikes. What did you think about the scenes with Mon Mothma this episode?
I don't know what they're doing with her. She's not that interesting,
Yeah.
honestly. I was so interested at first, and I'm just like, I'm just not that interested. I was interested to see Val as
Mm-hmm.
her niece, was it, or aunt or sister, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember. It was interesting to see her there though.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, they were calling her aunt something. So
I do agree with you though. It feels like she started out where you're like, oh, this is gonna be an interesting little like side storyline kind of thing that will
yeah,
eventually lead into everything else. And now I'm kind of like, well, what are you doing with her? Because it feels like they're just beating the same storyline with her over and over again.
yeah, she's just like, need to get money stuff,
Right.
things about money, things about my husband and my daughter that are kind of dysfunctional, but we all kind of stick together because what other option do we have? We drink worms.
Oh, no, thank you. No worms. Um,
Like I don't know. Like if I didn't know who she was,
mm-hmm.
I wouldn't care. Well, I'm like, because she's so fake too. Like when she talks to people, like they made an allusion to that. One of the senators in the last episode was like, I forgot how charming you are when you need votes.
Yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, it's because it just feels like, I don't know. It feels like she's kind of fallen into the background a little bit.
Yeah, she's like, they're gonna like she's gonna talk to a gangster. I mean that might spice things up a little bit. It's so plotting, so just really really taking a while to get
Right.
started. And honestly, I was a little bit hoping they would just take a three like episode arc and
Mm-hmm.
just show her and just have her. And
Oh,
now I'm like, don't really want that.
you're like, please don't.
And maybe they could make it interesting. Maybe that's what would spice it up though, is if they actually gave us more. Because all it is like, hey, she's talking to various people
Right.
and like money, and she's like, has scared looks on her face. So she's concerned. And I guess Val, I thought it was interesting too that so I actually rewatched episode 8 before 9, like back. So I watched them back to back,
Okay.
and so there was there's that dialogue between what are they, Penta or what something. Is that all right? I probably just totally and Val, like so the two girls from the, I don't know if I said their name right, but
I can't keep a lot of these names straight.
yeah, so those two though, the two
Mm-hmm.
girls, and so she's like, so who would you go as? And the girl was like, maybe a rich girl trying to run away from her family.
Mm-hmm.
And Val says, that's cold even for you. And it's because Val is
A rich girl.
a rich girl, like kind of running from her family. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and then that like ties into this episode, right? It all kind of makes sense. Um,
Um,
I get the need to kind of give Mon Mothma more of a backstory because I'm assuming they're gonna tie into more of her story and more of how like she gets involved and everything like that, and you want to see that. But it feels like this is just too long of a backstory.
yeah. It's like she's funding some rebellious activity.
Right. So
That's cool. I could have just been told that. You could just say, "Oh yeah, I'm on Mothma," and I'd be like, "Oh hey, they mentioned Mon Mothma. That's cool." Like
what's she doing?
she's still
Uh,
kicking around the Senate, just rattling around in there. Yep,
yeah. So I don't know. Maybe hopefully they do more with her the rest of the season.
sure. Yeah, I hope they
It,
do.
it's just gonna be. I think it'll be disappointing if they don't.
I like the actress.
Yeah, I think she's doing a fine job. She's coming across pretty cold, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
I think how it's intended to be portrayed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I have no problem with that. I just want I want her storyline to move more, and I feel like it's not.
Yeah, I'd say that's one of the slower parts. Yeah. So okay, so twitchy face lieutenant.
Yeah, psychotic,
So
psychotic. Yeah.
last episode, I think we were talking about how we still like her, right? Like we're kind of rooting for her
Yeah.
in a weird way. Do you still feel that way?
No.
I
No.
still I still do, kind of.
I,
I
I
still
mean,
like her.
I think she's a very good villain. She gives me Umbridge vibes.
Dolores.
Yeah, she like there is this like thought process of how Dolores Umbridge is more evil than Lord Voldemort. And it isn't all basically has to do with the fact that she's capable of conjuring a Patronus while she's wearing a Horcrux around her neck. And like you see what happens and you read about what happens to Ron and Harry and Hermione when they carry the Horcrux with them, and like and how it affects them, and it makes you like this really like negative person, and you lash out at everyone and you cause misery on everyone. So she's got this, and to conjure a Patronus you have to be happy, like you have to be extremely happy, and she's able to conjure one while she, so it's like this contradiction of like she's happiest when she is causing this misery and being a nasty human. And Lieutenant Twitchface here really reminds me of that, where like you can tell, like even in that last episode where she was like, or yeah, I think it was the last one, episode 8, where they were gonna bring in Bix, and she's like, no, I want her to see him, right? You
Right.
can tell that she's so manipulative in a way to
Mm-hmm.
get under Bix's skin and make it even worse for her. And it's like she gets off on it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, there was the Bix is like, you're gonna like torture me regardless, right? And she's like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, we'll totally just do that. Doctor, be pleasant and torture her face a little bit, please.
Yeah, because Bix was like, "You're not gonna believe me either way," and she's like, "No."
Right. Um, uh, I thought in those scenes also, like there was an Imperial in the background who was just like grinning real big, and I'm like, man, I don't know, it's just disappointing.
It's
In humans, you know.
yeah, but it makes them appear even more evil and like dark and twisted, and it honestly, this episode actually made me feel like Staring Guy was out of place.
Like he's too good, like he's too much of
Yeah.
a good guy.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think you're this twisted.
So here's the thing. All right. I mean, there's like this there's this really like kind of funny like website or whatever. I forget what it like. It's like I think it's a website where it's like the Empire did nothing wrong. It's like almost a meme
Okay, I think, yeah, I feel like, I don't know
of
if I've gone to it, but I've heard of the Empire did nothing wrong.
right. Well, it's just like the idea that they were just beset by terrorists, so they were trying to protect their people. They just kept getting destroyed or whatever. Like that, I'm probably doing a disservice to it, but like the idea that the Empire is not actually evil, that we would just see it from a certain point of view,
Right.
and like you could almost see Luke as like a guy who's been indoctrinated into these like radical beliefs,
Okay, right.
right? Like his what better target would there be if for like he his all of his parent figures die, and then some random old cultist guy is like, hey, come hang out with me, like I'll show you meaning in this world,
Right.
and he's like, oh, okay, sure, yeah, like I'm feeling pretty bummed out right now, I'm pretty vulnerable, and he's like, yeah, I'll teach you how to do magic, dude.
Right.
Like,
Have some candy.
yeah, like I'm gonna take you to like the place that you're gonna learn even more about our ways. Like
Oh
you
my
like a little taste of this power. Like you can kind of just see it in a way. Like yeah, I mean it's a twisted way of thinking, obviously, and I like the idea of the heroes and stuff. I like Luke and Han and everyone to be heroes, not like twisted villains. But it's
hmm
kind of an interesting idea. Uh, you know, I think though that so they've just basically, I mean, obviously that was never the intent of the creators of Star Wars. It's fun. It's a fun thought experiment. The idea though of I do think that there's a certain number of people who really love order. Like they love it
Right.
so much that they're going to buy into it on their own. Like they're not going to be like forced into it out of poverty or desperation of some other sort. I do think that in that way, you can almost see like good people joining the Empire for that. Like this guy,
Right.
you could hear him cite it. He's like, yeah, like order. That's what they want.
Well, and it almost feels like he's joining it because it's almost like a familial duty for him. Like you could tell that his mom was really basically like, you're nothing essentially if you don't. That's the vibe she gives me, is like, you're not worth anything if you don't join them. And even then,
Right.
you're not worth anything if you don't climb the ranks and get promoted. Like, so it feels like he's doing this just to kind of please his family, but he doesn't. To me, right now, he doesn't fit in.
Yeah, I think he's got a crush on the Lieutenant Twitch face.
Regardless of if he does or if he doesn't fit in.
No, so yeah, like all right, so in Kenobi they land on that farming planet,
Yeah,
right? And the weird like badger weasel creature, I don't
I can't
remember.
remember his name.
It was real creepy, but
Yeah, the one who's driving them.
yeah, but he even says like can't have too much order or something,
Yeah.
like small price to pay for a little bit of order or a
hmm
little bit of peace or something like that. Like like that's the thing. It's like a lot of people are buying into that, and I will say it's easy. It's easy. So like I don't know. You and I play the same like Star Wars phone game, right?
Right.
And how easy is it? Like, so when someone's complaining about a bug, but it's not affecting you for
Mm-hmm.
one reason or another, how easy is it to just think they're just being whiners?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like they're. But then when you actually get hit by a bug, you're like, you better fix it. Like, you need to fix this. This is a big problem. And the
Yeah.
people who aren't being affected are like, what whiners?
Right.
You know, and so if you're not being negatively impacted
Mm-hmm.
by the empire, if it's just like, yeah, like a little bit
Mm.
of order, that's not bad. Like, this is kind of cool. Like,
Right.
I don't feel unsafe anymore. I used to feel a little unsafe like going to work, and now I can ride the train and I'm good because there's stormtroopers. you know
Right.
like there's some appeal to that, I think.
Yeah.
Like that they you can't see it from my I can't I say that sometimes, when I give people advice in that game, in that
Mm-hmm.
phone game. I'm like, well, you can't see it from my yard. Like, I can't see it from my house. Like, it doesn't if it totally fails for you, it's not actually going to impact me
Right.
you know
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that goes like you see so many people being like, oh, like your mileage may vary or whatever. It's the same kind of idea here where you might embrace that and
Mhm.
well, I mean, you hear that in anything where people are like, well, not my problem,
Sure. Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
It's like, well, it's gonna be your problem. I mean, there's that, like, that dramatic, first they came for this group and I did not speak out, and
yeah.
then they came for this group and I did not speak out, and all these different groups, and then they came for me.
But that
It's like,
but that's exactly what's going to happen. Oh, man.
oh, it totally is, but it's that, though. It's that idea of, like, all these
Yeah.
people who are like, yeah, order is pretty cool, until they're like, oh crap, I'm a slave.
Right. And I'm never getting out of this factory.
Right.
Yikes.
Prison.
Prison.
Yeah.
It definitely has prison vibes now.
It's not a cage, though, so we're good.
Right. He's technically still never been. What's the line? Is it in a cage or behind bars?
Something like that.
Either or.
I just think it's funny. I mentioned it, and then the very next episode, it gets in prison. I'm like, son of a.
Yep. Okay, so what do you think is gonna happen? I guess next episode, like, because like you said, I think we both kind of expected this to be the closing of an arc, and it's not. It kind of feels like this was kicking off the last few episodes here.
Okay, let's try to chart what we think will happen in the next three.
Oh man.
Well, so what has to happen in order for this to be a successful season, I guess, is my thought. Like, we did this for Lord of the Rings too, or
Right.
Rings of Power. Of, like, what do we need? Like, we want to know more about who the mystery man is. We want to know more about Sauron. We need to see him and know, like, have some kind of, and it would be great to see some rings. And in the end, they actually did show all those things.
Right.
More or less gave us what we were hoping for. And I think, that actually, it's like, well, we'd be kind of picky if we were like, nope, not good enough for us. But so for this show to be successful, for you to be happy in your heart, to be like, man, season 2 is something to look forward to. What has to happen, in your opinion?
I mean, obviously Cassian, they need to escape the factory.
Yeah, like, this is enough. Like, this will be his 3rd episode in prison.
Yeah.
Need less of that.
We've established what it is. We've established that it's a prison. They're keeping everyone there. It's time to break out. I think Mon Mothma needs to push forward significantly more. Otherwise, I'm going to feel like her entire storyline was a complete waste of time. So I would love to see that. I personally and selfishly would really love if K2 showed up. Even if it's at the very end.
He already did.
Well, not really. I got so excited when I saw him, but it wasn't him.
I know. They faked you out.
They faked me out. I want the
I would.
actual K2 to show up.
Okay, so if he is that just wish list, or is that like you'll be deeply disappointed?
That's a wish list. I don't think I would be disappointed. Oh, I mean, I personally would be disappointed. I don't think the show would be a failure if he didn't.
Yeah, yeah. So I like I don't know if you want to say like intense wish list or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, like you fervent hope, fervent wish that yes, he's there.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe if he's not, it's not the end of the world.
Um,
I would like to be clear. I love his character. He is wonderful,
yeah.
and I want to see more of him.
Um, and then in terms of like staring face guy, I would like to know where that is going.
I want to know who Uncle whatever his name is.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's Luthen. It's probably not, but that would be an interesting twist, wouldn't it?
A little. Could you imagine if it was? Oh
Wouldn't
boy.
that be interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
they keep dropping his name. Like they want us to be curious about him.
Yeah, that's a good point. Um, yeah, I mean, I think the main thing though is that Cassie needs to get out of that factory, which I think he will.
Um,
I mean, I expect that to happen next episode.
so what I expect is, I think Mon Mothma finally cuts her ties with the Empire and like leaves. She flees.
Mm-hmm.
So she's going to join the rebellion. She'll be a big part of the rebellion,
Mm-hmm.
and she'll somehow leverage all her money and influence into a leadership position somehow.
Right.
Like that's my question. Is like there's no like specific other than a couple like roving groups of people. Like there's not like a rebellion exactly. Like
Right.
so I think if I had to project it, I think she's gonna leave Coruscant. She's gonna stop being a senator,
Mm-hmm.
and she's going to be uniting all the different groups. That's what she's gonna do in season 2. Is
Right.
she's gonna like she'll have a hopeful stare out the viewport of her starship.
Right.
Like it'll be mournful and like I'm leaving my family. I've got to go do this. Um, I hope that happens, or I hope things spice up for her and not just like in a oh, there's the stormtroopers gonna come to arrest me. Oh, they arrested me. Now I'm in jail and I'm sad. Like I want it to be like stormtroopers show up and like her daughter shoots one and they kill her. Not that I want her daughter to die, but like I want it to be like okay, like it's real now. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
You need something that's gonna push her over.
yeah, like because right now she's like telling Val, she's like maybe don't do as much, like you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
Like she hasn't fully committed to the cause, really.
Yeah. I was just gonna say she kind of seems like she's toeing the line here,
Mm-hmm.
and you need something that's just gonna push her over and into it, and it's gonna have to be something that is awful. I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, her walking into her dead husband and daughter tortured to death would do it, right? You know,
I would
not that I want, not that I want that. I hate that, but it's. I think that's coming. Honestly, I think that they're gonna die. I don't.
Mm,
I think she still loves them, and she wouldn't be willing to part from them. And I think they're gonna die. It is what I believe in my deepest heart, and I'm sad by the thought, but I think that'll happen.
yeah.
And I think it's possible that Luthen has it done and
Ooh.
pretends like it's Imperials. Probably
Oh.
that's probably too far, but it's possible. So there's that. Cassian needs to escape prison
Mm-hmm.
instantly. It needs sure spend the rest of the episode planning it, whatever. But then have him desperate. They don't know where to go, and they seek out Luthen. And Luthen hooks him up with Mon Mothma, and like that, they actually start. They have a bunch of men now. They have Melshi at the very least. They have other men
Mm-hmm.
from this prison who can help, and they're gonna actually start something. Like
Yep.
I think the Andor is Cassian just And he's like, you know what? Screw the Imperials for imprisoning me for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we got to kill him. And I think they'll kill his mom too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Bix will join them. They'll somehow rescue Bix. I mean, it's all fuzzy on how it's all gonna pan out, but I think that he needs to escape prison and spend the next two episodes joining the rebels, kind of permanently.
Do you think that we will ever see him find his sister?
I'm wondering that actually. Like, I've been wondering if that's just been a throwaway thing because his mom was like, "Don't look for your sister; she's gone." Like,
Right.
I'm wondering if we're just supposed to be like, "Oh, I guess she's gone." Like, bye.
Right. And just kind of not. I don't know. It just feels like a weird thing to have brought up. And then now it's not, it hasn't really been addressed or brought up again since.
Right.
It just feels weird. Feels unfinished.
It does.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think if the series ended without you knowing what happened to his sister, I would be disappointed.
Yeah, that's a
I feel like
good
that's
point.
like a loose end that they need to tie up. Even if like his sister is gone, like
Well, they started the episode. Yeah, like if he learns who his sister is. Yeah, I mean, I was like, maybe it's staring guy's mom, but she's too old for that. I'm
she's
like
too
trying to
old.
connect all this, trying to connect all these things. What if it's
Twitch face.
no,
Oh,
no, I was thinking it's the girl we can't remember her name. The girl whose whole family was killed by stormtroopers.
yeah, can't remember.
And then just he can't, but he'd recognize her. I'm just like trying to connect all of them. That
Right.
the Star Wars universe is not that small. I do want to know who Uncle whatever his name is though. Trevor or something.
I can't remember.
Neville. I'm just saying Harry Potter names. Scabbers.
Oh man. Yeah, I want to know who it is too, though.
Yeah, you keep telling it. I'll tell you what. If they don't tell us who the uncle is, Harlow maybe.
Harlow sounds
Uncle
familiar.
Harlow. Yeah, if they don't tell us who the uncle is by the end of this season, that will be disappointing.
Um,
Maybe it's the gangster who's gonna talk to Mon Mothma.
ooh. Um, yeah, because there's only. I feel like I ask you this all the time. There's only 2 seasons now. And do you know if season 2 is supposed to be 12 episodes as well?
Yeah, so the format is okay. So if you take all of the seasons in totality, well, you know, both of the seasons. So this is 5 years. Right now, it's 5 years from the Battle of Yavin,
Right.
but when the Death Star blows up, from when Rogue One happens.
Mm-hmm.
So so season 1 is year 1
Yeah. And then season 2 will be 2, 3, 4, 5.
in three episode arcs each.
I'm curious how that's gonna flow.
Yeah, me too.
But um uh I completely lost my train of thought. I just feel like there's so many things that they need to wrap up overall in basically just over one season. Man. Yeah, that's gonna be.
Isn't it funny? He dies. The Death Star cooks him.
I
The
know
end.
we know what happens, but at the same time, I'm like, well, what about his sister now? What happens to his mom? Is she gonna die
No.
like you
What
said?
about Bix? What about Andy Serkis?
Yeah, all
What
these
about Twitch Face
characters.
McGee? Staring Guy,
Does
Uncle
he?
Trevor, Mon Mothma's family,
Oh man, there's just so many things that I think they need to wrap up.
the
I
leftover worms.
oh man, I I feel like they're gonna end the season on some kind of reveal or something like that.
I hope so.
Um, yeah, that's just what my gut is saying. There's going to be some kind of reveal in the last episode, and then it's going to end.
So here's a question: do you think maybe Mon Mothma's guy that she trusts
Mm-hmm.
is actually a snake?
Yeah, I didn't find him very trustworthy this episode.
I think that he is sketch. I think he's sus. I've
Yeah.
decided to call him sus.
Yeah, he doesn't give me good vibes.
Well, yeah, anything that threatens your vibes, we need to investigate
Correct.
immediately.
Correct.
Your vibes are important.
No, but he doesn't like. I feel more sus about him than I do Andy Serkis's character.
Yeah, me too. I think Andy Serkis is just wants to escape.
Yeah.
To me, it's straightforward. I mean, if he tries to escape, I just don't think he will. I think,
Right. I don't know.
but maybe he will sell him out. I hope he says "my precious" at least once before he's done.
Uh, oh man. Yeah, I just there's something about that guy that she trusts that it doesn't sit right.
Yeah, I. She's like, I trust him, but uh, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, maybe he is a trustworthy fellow.
Right.
I was. I'll tell you what. I want to see more of Senator Organa, Bail Organa,
Yeah, that's a good point.
because he's really important to the formation of the rebellion. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if he's not in this season, that'll be a travesty. Like he needs, I feel like he needs to at least show up at the end. But
Yeah.
he's actually still a senator until the Senate is dissolved. Like he keeps his cover at least. I think Mon Mothma has to leave before that, though, if I remember the canon right.
Right.
And like maybe he can shelter her or something. Like I Jimmy Smits, I think is the actor's name. Like I've always really enjoyed, yeah, like I've really enjoyed him playing a bigger role in things because
Mm-hmm.
he gets blown up in Alderaan, and it's like, well, I guess we'll never see Leia's dad, and it's fun to see him taking an active role in the early formation of the rebellion and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good. Oh, man, that would be great if he showed up at the end.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
come with me if you want to not die.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they've got to push so much together by the end of this season in particular to really get the ball rolling for Tooth, because I don't think you can go into year two and not have the rebellion established,
That would be really tough, wouldn't it?
right? So,
Nigh well impossible.
yeah, I
Well,
just, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm good if they want to grow the so like events that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like we see Luthen trying to get Saw to work with someone, and I think that Mon Mothma and him do get along for a while. Like they for sure are like on a team for a little bit,
Yeah.
and then he's too distasteful. Like I think that we're gonna see that some
Mm-hmm.
of that. I think that's what episode 2 is going to be, is the formation of the alliance,
Right.
and she's going to be the central navigator of that. So I
Right.
think end of season 1, I think maybe the rebellion hasn't quite all the way started,
Mm-hmm.
except with her and her intentions.
Okay. I just feel like I don't know where Cassian fits in if he's not already with her, or
Mm.
you know what I mean? Like he just kind of feels like he's on his own, like he's a solo player here.
Yeah, we need a little bit of, we need to link some of these storylines together, I
Yeah.
think, too.
We need to tie him to the rebellion by the end of the season.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess last question then. Does Luthen survive the end of the season?
Oh, I don't know if I want him to die.
So there is still a scene. I'm pretty sure we haven't. I think there's still one scene with Saw from the previews.
That we haven't seen yet. Assuming that
well,
assuming they didn't cut it.
oh yeah, I mean, in Rogue One tradition, right? Like there's all kinds of things that they cut, and for those previews, it's
Right.
like, remember that line, like it's a rebellion, I rebel, and that
Mm-hmm.
never made it into the movie itself.
Mm-hmm. Um, I think he
That's,
I think he lives through the end of the season.
I think there's a good chance that he doesn't. I think that Mon Mothma takes over his job.
Hmm.
Some like kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I
Maybe.
mean, I like him too. Like he's kind of a rat bastard, but I think he's that he is he's starting all kinds of crap.
Mm-hmm.
Like
He is.
he's not a nice person, like he's not a moral person. He's a desperate person and opposing the empire. But I mean, I think that was the line in the scene
Mm-hmm.
that's with Saw Gerrera of like, you know, well, we'll call it rebellion or whatever. Like some people call it violence, or I forget what it was, but it's like an illusion of like, we can do what we want, but we'll call it, you know,
Right.
something more righteous.
Yeah. Ah, man. I don't know. I feel like Luthen, because I mean, he also had that line about like basically manipulating people into a reason to rebel,
Mm-hmm.
right? So maybe he does just kind of like go too far, so to speak.
I think he could. Yeah.
I could see him doing that. I could see him totally like crossing the line. Um, yeah, because he definitely has a grittier vibe or a grittier take on things than say Mon Mothma.
Yeah. I'm interested to see, to say the least, in the end of the season. It's gonna just keep being super intense, I think.
Yeah, I think we just keep building from here. So
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see Twitch face hook up with staring guy. Cassian hook up with D or B or what's her name?
Bix.
Bix. Oh yeah, I'm thinking of just the droid.
I was like,
uh,
who?
some random letter and number combination. No, Bix, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I don't know. I think the last three episodes are gonna be really good though, especially if they are like packed, and I think they will be.
Yeah. So I guess the one other thing that I want to point out,
Mm.
and we should probably call it good here soon, but like, yeah, there's been action. There hasn't been any like extended action sequences really, other than like
Mm-mm.
the base, the heist episode. But even that didn't have like that there was a firefight and stuff. Like I I'm not one to be like, man, we don't get to see, like, I don't care about the fighting as much, but this is Star Wars. Like we haven't seen that much of it in the last few
Yeah.
episodes. Like it, and that's kind of an iconic thing. And I realized, I'm like, do I miss that? I think I a little do. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. I think I do a little bit too. It just also feels this is such a different show for Star
Mm-hmm.
Wars that I actually enjoy that it is so different.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's a minor quibble. I
yeah,
like.
yeah, no, but I think that's fair, and I wonder if they'll bring more of that in the last couple episodes.
I wonder that too.
Hmm. Hmm. That's a good point.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, they kind of need to, frankly. I
Yeah,
mean, there are some people who just like need that. They don't have to have lightsabers or whatever, but they need to have some blasters and ships and stuff.
yeah. I was just gonna say like a blaster gun. I think actually we'll probably see a lot of that when they do break out of the prison.
Yeah, like I think they're primed for at least one really good action sequence. I just,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm really enjoying this show. I know some people, like our friend Solo, doesn't like the show, for instance.
He doesn't.
Yeah, he's like, I don't like Andor. I'm gonna wait until it's all the way over till I watch anymore because it's so disappointing and slow.
Oh.
I know. Don't you just dislike him even more?
I'm just surprised he doesn't like it. I think the reason why I do like it is because it feels so different.
Yeah. Well, it is. I've been enjoying it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Looking forward to that. So next episode,
Yes.
we'll talk about Andean episode and Andean. Wow.
Andean? Are you combining Andor and Cassian there?
I'm like as crazy as Twitch face here, but
Yeah, Andean episode what? 10?
Andean Candor.
Oh man.
Yeah. Episode 10. And then which one is the first one? I'm guessing it's Ahsoka is the first arc of Legends of the Jedi or whatever it's called. Tales of the Jedi.
I think so. I actually haven't looked at it. I was curious if they were going to alternate. And if they do, I'm curious if I can like skip the Dooku ones so I can just watch the Ahsoka ones. Cuz do we want to do Ahsoka first?
Oh, I'm good with doing the first one first, whichever
Okay.
one that is.
My thought was I don't want to skip the other one if they do alternate, and then if there's something in there that's important.
Right, if it tells like one greater story somehow.
Yeah, so I'll probably
agree.
just watch it all the way through. Who are we kidding?
What? If I have time to binge watch it, I will.
Well, they're short, right? They're like what, 15 minutes, 20 minutes?
Yeah, that's what I hear. They're pretty short. But yeah, I don't. With what time though? I don't have time.
I gotta work this weekend.
Stop bragging. Some of us have to actually work at work.
Okay, yeah. So we'll talk about that next week. The one half of the Tales of the Jedi.
Oh, yeah,
That sounds good.
sounds great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So I guess that's it.
It sounds over. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Go join our Discord, guys.
yeah. Come hang out, and thanks for listening. And we'll talk next week.
Yeah, guys, and hit that sub button if you haven't already on our YouTube.
Good point.
That'll be great. You'll enjoy that.